Oh, what's good, YouTube, man? It's Gary with Just Fan TV, man. Back at you with a video at the content of this video. Go and smash that like button, like the content of this channel. Go ahead and subscribe, man. Look, so Ravens, Rams, game preview. Give you my thoughts and opinions on the game. Also give you some stats about the Rams offense and defense and how I think the Ravens can win this game and improve their record on the season. And, keep striving for that one seed, improve to 10-3, things like that. So let's get right into it. Off top, we're going to start with the injury report, okay? So I talked about it yesterday. Just go over real quick again. For the Ravens, only 3 guys are listed as questionable. Malik Ham, Malik Harrison, and Pepe Williams. Everybody else is good. So, Rashad Bateman had an illness. He's fine. Lamar Jackson had an illness. He's fine. Ronnie Stanley, Marlon Humphrey, guys who had injuries prior, it seems like they're going to play as well. So the Ravens are in pretty good health heading into this game. Okay. Now, flip side, Rams, well, obviously Puka Nacua, he has no injury designation. Only reason I put him in there is because last week I watched some of their game and he got injured like multiple times during the game. Ended up coming back anyway, but like he's going to play, so he's good. Tight end for the Rams, Tyler Higbee, doubtful. And then 2 outside linebackers, Michael Hoyt, questionable, and Byron Young, questionable. Both of these guys play a lot of snaps for the Rams, so that is going to be a blow if they don't play. But if they do play, the Rams will have, their some starters out there for them. Okay, so all right, excuse me. Now on to the Rams' last 3 games. How have they fared? They're 3-0 in their last 3 games. Okay, so 17-16 W versus Seahawks, who the Ravens have already played, obviously. 37-14 W versus the Cardinals, and a 36-19 W versus the Browns. Much appreciated for beating the Cleveland Browns, of course, right? So that brings the Rams to 6-6 on the season, and they're very much alive in the NFC, right? The NFC doesn't have the same, I would say, top to bottom strength as the AFC. So, a team at a 6-6 at this point in the season, go on a run, you never know, you can get in. So the Rams have a lot to play for right now. So, and obviously winning 3 games in a row, you're hot. So Ravens cannot sleep on this game in any form of fashion. But I don't think this is a trap game for Ravens per se, because I think the Rams are good enough to have the Ravens' full attention. Okay. All right. Now let's move on to the Rams defense. All right. So they allowed 330 yards a game, which is 16th in the NFL. They're giving up a 40% third down conversion rate, which is 20th. Pass defense, 219 yards a game, so pretty much 220 yards a game for 16th in the NFL. But low completion percentage, only allowing opponents to complete 60.77% of their passes for sixth in the NFL. Excuse me, they're right behind the Ravens. I believe the Ravens are at 5, so they're right there. 2.3 sacks per game for 23rd, so that is kind of way down the list. But they still have a guy named Aaron Donald, right? So can't take that for granted. Aaron Donald, I believe, has 6 sacks on the season. I'm going to talk about him later as well. All right. Rushing defense, 111 yards a game for 16th in the league. A lot of their stats are kind of just, kind of middle of the pack kind of things. But still a solid unit, right? All right, so Rams offense, 22 points a game, 13th in the NFL, 345 yards a game for 13th in the NFL. Once again, 40.88 third down conversion rate for 13th. A lot of 13s in here. And then almost a 63% red zone touchdown percentage, which is top 10, which they are 7th in the league in that. Okay, so passing offense, 231 yards a game for 15th on about 35 attempts a game, which is about middle of the pack, 14th in the league. And they're only giving up 1.8 sacks a game for 4th, right? All right, and then if we look at rushing yards a game, about 114 and a half rushing yards a game on about 26, 27 carries a game, right? So the Rams are averaging around 4.2, somewhere around there, yards per carry, right? That's kind of the range that they're in. All right, so when I look at this Rams team, especially on offense, very balanced approach, a team that Sean McVay had to kind of rebuild and remold. We know what happened after the Super Bowl, right? They won the Super Bowl. They said F all those picks, right? And they did that. They got that model going, and they won a bowl, right? And it was a beautiful thing for them, right? But now they've had to kind of come down and rebuild. Last year, Matthew Stafford was hurt pretty much, I think, all of last season almost. Pretty much he missed the entire year. But this year, he's back. He's playing really well. He looks like Matthew Stafford of old. And this Rams offense is something that the Ravens are definitely not going to sleep on, because they're a really solid unit. right? This is why I don't view this game as necessarily a trap game, because I believe the Rams are good enough to hold the Ravens' attention, right? So, this Rams team is a very, very good, solid team, especially on offense. Like Sean McVay and what he's doing, he's showing that he is still a mastermind that can create a very good offense with, without the quote unquote household names. Obviously, Matthew Stafford is still there, but Cooper Kupp has missed a lot of this season. I believe he's only played like 8 games, and in those games, he's still not the number one guy. That's a guy named Puka Nacua, who we'll talk about as well. So, kudos to the Rams for a season where a lot of people thought this would be a lost year for the Rams. They're right in the middle of the hunt. And, if they play well down the stretch, you never know how the season could end up, right? All right, so keys to the game for the Ravens, right? So let's start with the Ravens on offense, okay? So for me, downfield passing attack is one of the keys to the game, right? Now, coming off the Ravens' last game versus an LA team, which is the Chargers, I feel like the Ravens went side to side too much, right? There was too much of the bubble screens, too much of running back screens, however you want to say it. It was too much side to side action for the Ravens now. Now, I don't mind that a couple of times mixed in, things like that, but I felt like that was an overwhelmingly majority of the game plan. It was too much, right? I still want to get the ball in Zay Flowers' hands a lot, but use Zay Flowers as a downfield target, right? It seems like the only player that's really getting down the field for whatever reason is Rashad Bateman. For whatever reason, the Ravens have turned Rashad Bateman into the team's sole deep threat, right? Which is not something I really thought would ever be his main role on a Ravens offense, right? Now, don't get me wrong, Rashad Bateman has done a nice job of getting down the field, getting behind receivers. The connection between him and Lamar Jackson is still a work in progress when it comes to completing those plays, but I digress. So, I want to see them use Zay Flowers as more of a true wide receiver, right? Let him run routes. Let him get shifty down the field because he's one of the best route runners the Ravens have, okay? Starting back from training camp on to now, a lot of guys in the NFL cannot guard him one-on-one. So I believe that we are limiting the potential of Zay Flowers, using him as kind of a gadget, screen guy, bubble guy. Listen, him with the ball in his hands in space is a great thing, but it's almost become too predictable. So a little bit more downfield passing attack, a little bit more of that featuring guys like Isaiah Likely, 15, 20 yards down the field. Zay Flowers, 15, 20 yards down the field. Let's push those guys down the field a little bit more. Okay, so that's my number one, right? All right, number two, I talked about him earlier. Contain Aaron Donald, right? No matter what you think about what the Rams are this year or whatever, Aaron Donald is still that guy, right? He still has 6 sacks this year. It's quiet because there's other guys around the league getting piling up a bunch of numbers. Your Micah Parsons, your Nick Bosa's, your Myles Garrett, who plays in the AFC North, right? So, but Aaron Donald is still an elite level player. All right, no matter how you slice. So the Ravens have to be aware of that, and I'm sure they are. I don't have to tell the Ravens to be aware of Aaron Donald. That's common knowledge, right? So for me, this is kind of how I said when we played, say, the Cleveland Browns. Myles Garrett can't wreck your game plan, right? I feel the exact same way. If the Rams win this game, have great defensive showing, I don't want it to be because Aaron Donald wrecked the game plan, right? So the Ravens had to devise extra attention to this guy and make sure that Lamar Jackson has time to read the defense, make a decision, and do what he does best this year, which is decision making, right? Spreading the football around. So that's what I want to see. I don't want to see Aaron Donald have the game where he's just wrecking everything, right? The Ravens are going to win. That can't happen. Okay, so all right, defense, right? Number one, pressure Matthew Stafford. Okay, Matthew Stafford, like I said, is playing very well. He's not bad versus the blitz or anything like that. The Ravens don't allow simulated pressures or anything like that. But it's just a simple fact that he is a quarterback that is not the most mobile guy, right? I said when I think of this Rams team, I kind of think about how the Ravens got after Jared Goff, right? A lot of confusion, and when your first read isn't there and the pressure's coming on you, you can't really escape that, right? That's how I kind of view this game as well. Now, Matthew Stafford, I believe, is a better quarterback than Jared Goff, of course, but same kind of thing, right? He's not going to be able to escape pressure too much. If the Ravens can confuse him enough, get some guys home, those simulated pressures, send your corners, your safeties, drop guys out, change the looks of how Mike McDowell has been doing all season long, they can have success, and if they can get home to Matthew Stafford, that's a big plus, right? You get home to any quarterback, pressure in his face, it's going to make any quarterback flinch, right? It doesn't matter really who they are. So, all right, secondly, you got to focus on the two young guns from the LA Rams offense, right? So that's Kyron Williams and that's Puka Nacua. So Kyron Williams has recently returned from injury, but in his last 3 games, he's averaging 130 yards on the ground. Okay, so now 2 of those games is versus the Cardinals. Like I said, he's returning from injury, but I think he had 81 yards last week versus the Browns. And then the week prior to that versus the Cardinals, he had almost 200 yards from scrimmage. I mean, he might have been over 200 yards from scrimmage. I think he had 140 on the ground and 60 yards receiving. So when he plays, they're a different offense. Okay, they're good without him, but they're even better with him. All right, and then the second guy, Puka Nacua, right? Kind of the rookie who has kind of popped up out of nowhere. And really exploded this year. He already has over 1,000 yards receiving. I believe he's like 1,077 yards on the year, 77 catches. No, I think it's 1,029 yards and 77 catches, right? So that's the main guy right there, right? He's tough. They're going to use him all over the field, outside slide, move around, motion. If you know anything about watching the Sean McVay offense, the guys are going to be in motion a lot. Ravens are going to have to deal with that. So yeah, I think the Rams are like, I know they're top 5 in motion. That's just how that Shanahan tree guys do it. They move guys around a lot. So Ravens will have to deal with that and stay on their P's and Q's. Okay, so I looked at Puka Nacua's stats. Like I said, 77 catches on the year. His next closest teammate is Tutu Atwell with 37. So that's a 40 reception gap right there, right? It's kind of similar to how we played last week, the other LA team. Well, not last week, but 2 weeks ago at this point. Excuse me, the other LA team with the Chargers and Keenan Allen had a big gap. I think his gap was like 60 to the next guy, which is even more. But Puka Nacua, number one on the hit list when it comes to the pass game, especially with the guy like Tyler Higbee out over the middle of the field. Now Cooper Kupp is playing, but he hasn't been. I won't say he's been bad, nothing like that. But I think he's still coming back from injury, so like he's still getting acclimated again. You know what I mean? So, excuse me. So yeah, that's my thoughts on that. XFactors, right? XFactors for the game. I'm going to say that the X factor for the game is the Ravens are coming up a bye week, right? So I think it's just natural, it's an easy thing to say. Avoid a sluggish start off the bye week. You are a team that is healthy. The Ravens are healthy at this point in the season for the first time in some years, right? So take advantage of that and play up to your potential, right? Don't come out here with a slow start versus the Rams in this offense and a defense that is scrappy, right? So the Rams are going to be out here ready to play. Like I said, the season isn't lost for the Rams. They're 6-6. They still have a lot to play for. So they're going to come ready to play this game because this is a stepping stone for them potentially trying to get into the playoffs, right? As a wild card. So that's the first thing, right? Avoid a sluggish start. So I got down here that the Ravens are 4-1 in the last 5 years after the bye week. So, hey, listen, that means that they've been pretty good after the bye week, winning games. So hopefully that streak continues. They can go to 5-1 over the last 6 years, right? Just keep pushing that streak out and out and out. But to me, that's the biggest X factor to this game, right? You're coming off a bye week. You're coming off of rest, relaxation. You got your body in order. This was a late bye week for the Ravens. But you're in the home stretch of the season. You're in the stretch of the season where, especially for the Ravens, where every single team you're playing is tough. This is not an off game, right? The Rams are a really good physical football team, and they're good on both sides of the ball. Right, you know what I mean? So the Ravens can't take this game off, can't take it lightly. And that, to me, is the biggest X factor in this game. Now, as far as a score prediction, right? So score prediction for this game, I think the Ravens will win. I will say that the Ravens win 31-20. It's not that I don't think the Rams are going to compete. That's going to just have a blowout, things like that. I don't think that. But I think the Ravens will do enough to, especially coming back off the bye, being at home, to win this game and win this game by a little bit of a margin. So I'll go 31-20 Ravens. And that's my thoughts. As always, leave your thoughts, predictions in the comments. Man, on the pod comments. Y'all have a beautiful and blessed day. It's Gabriel, just another Fan TV. I'm out.